Mr. Wilkerson?
That's what I used to tell all my SWAT guys right before we did a hit. 5 seconds out, take a deep breath. All right, a little bit about me. My name is Brian Wilkinson. Everybody knows me as Wilkie. Started out my career as a United States Marine, foundation of my leadership skills. I left Marine Corps after 6 years as a Marine Corps Scout Sniper. Started my career with the Denton County Sheriff's Office. I worked just about everywhere in the Sheriff's Office. I worked detention, master jailer. I was also a supervisor back there, worked with the Special Operations Response Team. Moved out in the operations side. Once I moved out in the operations sides, I got to work in all different facets of the Sheriff's Office patrol. I also got to work fugitive warrants, investigations with narcotics. During that time, I was a SWAT team member, a leader with the SWAT team, ended up retiring as a commander of the SWAT team. I had a great career, wonderful time. I was also a trainer, and I trained techniques, tactics, not only to the SWAT team, but everybody across the board. With that being said, I believe with my experience that I'll be the best candidate for the job. What I do currently right now is I'm a consultant for law enforcement officers, and I teach civilians, law-abiding civilians, how to carry and defend themselves with a gun. So when it comes down to this 2A thing, I'm pro 2A. Unless you're a felon or a criminal, I'm not going to come take your guns. If you are, I'm coming after them. That's it.
Hey guys, thank y'all for sticking it out this long. I know it's tough and those seats are hard. My name is Tracy Murphy and I'm your Denton County Sheriff. This week I begin my 33rd year of law enforcement. I've served as a state trooper, as a narcotics agent, as your Texas Ranger here in Denton County for 13 years. Retired from DPS in 2011, and the next day I went to work for Benny Parkey as a CID captain, where I was in charge of criminal investigations. I was in charge of narcotics, and I was in charge of crime scene. In 2016, I stood before this room and I told you some things that I wanted to do. One of those things was I wanted to bring integrity and a high standard to the Sheriff's Office. We've done that. I set a very high standard for myself and for the people who work for me. And there's also accountability that goes along with that. Because if you don't have accountability with a high standard, what's the use of having it? We are no longer a country sheriff's office. Denton County is one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. And it's time that our law enforcement was professional to keep up with our status in the state. I am a hardcore conservative Republican. I've stood up for your Second Amendment rights since day one. I will stand up for your Second Amendment rights till the day they plant me in the ground. I am a strict constructionist on the Constitution. I believe that it's the foundation of our freedom, and it's the foundation that I want my kids to grow up in this country. That's why I wrote the resolution that recently passed through the Commissioner's Court, making this a Bill of Rights protected county. Second Amendment is not the only right that's under attack. Your religious freedoms, your freedom of speech, your right to due process are also under attack. You see what happens in Virginia, what's going on? You need a sheriff who will stand between you and those folks, and I'm that guy. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dugan Broomfield. First of all, I want to let you know I am not a politician. I'm here to serve each and every one of y'all like I have the past 26 years. I started out in the jail back in 1994. I rose to be a mental health investigator. I later went to the Denton County District Attorney's Office as a criminal investigator, promoted to felony, and now as the past 13 years I've been the assistant chief for the Denton County DA's office. My wife, Phyllis, she had also retired from Denton County Sheriff's Department for 28 years. She's also a Gold Star mother. We both have, with our combined years of experience, we've had 54 years serving each and every one of y'all in Denton County. It's been a pleasure. I also, as Tracy said, I will support the Second Amendment. I will stand by you each and every day to make sure that your guns are not taken away from you. This is the only place that I would want to work and do my 30 years experience that I've had with Denton here in Denton County. And I hope on March 2nd, you vote Dugan Broomfield for sheriff. Thank you.
Okay, so the first question will go to, no, Tracy. Sheriff Murphy, sorry. I've known you too long.
I know.
It's hard for me to
Just
do.
20
Okay,
years.
so here's the question. Okay, in the last 4 years, the Sheriff's Department has not been seen in the African American community at all. No participation in MLK events or Juneteenth events. What will you or can you do to change that?
Well, you know, I've been made personal donations to the flag football MLK Day, and we have to reach out more. We have to. You know, nationwide, we have a 65% decrease in people who are applying for law enforcement jobs. And we have to reach out better to the African American community. And, you know, one thing I can say about that is those events, a lot of those events take place within the city of Denton. And so a lot of times my guys aren't called upon to provide security or law enforcement at those events. If I'd be more than happy to be at any event that I'm invited to, and it's certainly, that's a good question. I will do better. I mean, it's something that sometimes you don't think about when you're trying to run a $55 million budget with 650 employees, and to get a lot of those things done. There are a lot of things in the community we need to do better, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Same question.
Well, I agree with Tracy. You have to do better. To be down there, you know, I've been invited to go to the MLK flag football game here fixing to be coming up pretty soon. All I can say, if I'm elected sheriff, I will do better. I will have people helping each and every one of the people we need to know. That is a good question, Leanne.
I didn't write it. Somebody
Oh, I'm
else
sorry. Okay. You know, it's a really good question. I have no answer for you right now, but all I can say, if I am elected sheriff, I will do better to provide for the folks. Thank you.
Same question, do you need me? Okay, looks like a no.
I think I'm good. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. All right, hey, listen, I'm gonna agree with both of them. That's something we need to do better. I have a ton of African-American friends. I've taken them to Arkansas with me and had Thanksgiving with them. But there's a lot of events out there that, you know what, the sheriff's office it's a busy place, and a lot of things are held within inside municipalities. We're gonna have to work on that. We're gonna have to work with our community leaders in all aspects. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, gay, whatever. We have to work with all those different community leaders, because that's what we do. We go out there to protect, we go out there to represent the community that we protect and serve.
Okay, thank you. Question number 2 will go to Mr. Broomfield first. Okay, if you were to be elected, what do you see as the single biggest weakness, I'm assuming, in the Sheriff's Department, and what exactly would you do about it, and give specifics?
Right now, I believe the biggest weakness they have right now is detention. they can't keep detention officers. I know it's a hard, tough job, and it's not made for everybody to do this kind of job. All I can say is that I will get out there and that's where I started at the sheriff's department in the jail. I know what a tough job it is to do, to deal with the inmates on a daily basis, because all they have is time on their hands to figure out what they're gonna do to a detention officer. But all I can say is training. I will make sure each and every one is trained up as much as I can get, because I understand training right now is, they get it every now and then. It ain't like it's, like for me, I have to have 40 hours of training every 2 years. You know, that I need to have it where they need to have the same training as I do in jail operations. Thank you.
Okay. Same question?
Could you repeat it for me?
I sure can. If you were to be elected, what do you see as the single biggest weakness in the sheriff's department, and what exactly would you do about it? And give specifics.
All right. Well, I'm gonna agree with Dugan a little bit. Number one thing, morale. We have to bring the morale up. Everybody keeps promising morale. So how do we get that done? Well, we gotta treat people right. We gotta treat them with respect. Good, solid leadership, which is gonna bring service. That's gonna keep retention. People don't leave because of money. They leave because of environment. How do we get that done? Well, we give them good, solid training. Not check-the-box training, but good, solid, quality training. Like I said, I'm a trainer, and I know that there's a lot of good training out there, not check-the-box training. If we give them good, solid training, when they go out there on the street, the citizens are gonna reap the benefit. I'm all about the training. We can't just give check-the-box training, not a bunch of online training to our detention officers, but 40 good, solid 40 hours a year, not just check-the-box training. Thank you.
You know,
I was gonna ask you.
our weakness is the same as weaknesses are all over the country, and it's retention. It's retention in the detention area. And that's nationwide. I spoke to you earlier about the applications for law enforcement positions being down 65%. And we're having the same issues as Tarrant County, Dallas County, Collin County, Bexar County, you name the major counties. We're having that same issue. It's nothing that happened in the 3 years I've been here. It's been an ongoing process for the last 15 years. And it's gonna continue to be that way, and I'll tell you why. 30 seconds. Because we're hiring 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids. They come in there, they get in that environment, a lot of times they don't like it. They get out. You can't talk to those kids about retirement and benefits. They want to go make another dollar, they're gonna leave. A lot of those folks are leaving for that reason. And also, we're depleting some of our best and brightest in detention by promoting them into operations. Most of our patrol deputies at this time were detention officers when I got here. We've let them move on with their career and move up and move into patrol. But you know, we're working every day to try to retain those folks. Thank you.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so, no, I'm sorry. Back to Mr. Wilkinson. Okay, so the third question goes to you first. Considering the recent and local law enforcement critical incidents, for example, last night, actually today's, stabbing and subsequent shooting, and the county officer involved shooting last year, how would you support officers and their families during and after these incidents? And if you've already done so, what did you do?
Great question. 60 seconds or less is the best thing I'm gonna do, and if I run over, I'm sorry. I take this very, very personal. I've been in one of those. I understand it. What we have to do is we have to look at the mental health part of it. We have to take care of our officers. We gotta make sure that there's a policy in place that we're taking care of our officers no matter what's going on out there. And then we have to follow up with that every single day and make sure that they're doing good. We gotta make sure we have a good investigation process that happens and they're not getting left out there. We've gotta make sure that our mid-level management is taking care of these officers when they're involved in a shooting. It's a big deal. I know the first person that came and shook my hand after I was in a shooting was a sheriff. He was the first person standing right next to me. That's a big deal on an officer that's out there protecting, and he has to make that critical decision, that 1 second decision to take another person's life. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of those people. Thank you.
I'll tell you what we do, is we do take care of them, and we do have mandatory counseling for those folks, and we do check on them. And I'll tell you exactly what I've done recently is, if any of you still read the Denton Record Chronicle, you might see where they demanded the name of my deputy that was involved in that incident, and I refused to give it to them because I don't have to, and not because I didn't have to, but because this individual that died as a result of this incident was a gang member. He was part of a prison gang, and there's no way that I'm going to give up the name of my officer to a newspaper and put that deputy's life in danger because the newspaper says they deserve it. They don't deserve it. I follow the law. You know, I went up there making these arbitrary legal. I'm not running for judge. I've got a whole team of lawyers that I confer with to make sure that I'm obeying the law. And that's how I'll take care of these guys, is I'm not going to throw them under the bus. We're going to take care of them, and as long as it takes for them to get back to work, they've got a job here at the Denton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, I spent 3.5 years working in the mental health unit. I was considered a qualified mental health professional. And I believe these officers that are involved in a shooting, they need that kind of help. Because we don't know what happens to them when they go home to their wives or their loved ones. Or they may go down a dirt road and just bother them, it bugs them. Well, if I was sheriff, I'd make sure there's counseling on every shooting. Every time an officer's involved in something, they need to have counseling. Because you don't know what goes through each and every one's mind. They could end up and commit suicide, and we surely don't want that out of our officers. We really don't. Give them a hug. Tell them they did a great job. Just keep up with the counseling and make sure they're each and every one of them's okay. Because we've worked hard to be where we're at, and I believe that's where we still need to be. Right by their side each and every day. Thank you.
And now we're going to do your final remarks, and Sheriff Murphy will be first up on that.
Thank you. I know I've only got a minute here, so I'm gonna end this with, I want to tell you about the endorsements in my race. Senator Ted Cruz, Congressman Michael Burgess, Senator Pat Fallon, Dr. Stuckey, Sheriff Patterson, Tam Parker, the entire Commissioner's Court, including Judge Eads, the District Attorney, who has endorsed me. And people will say, so what? What does that matter? You see what's going on in Virginia? You see what's going on there? It's important that the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of your county has a rapport with our national, state, and local leaders, that they trust his judgment. I've taken phone calls and texts from all 3 of our Republican state reps from the floor, asking my opinion on things. We didn't always agree, but that's important. Thank you.
Try not to lean up against the light switches, that's what's going on. Actually, it's and then
First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And it would be my humble pleasure to be your sheriff. I've worked 30 years as a law enforcement agent, officer here in several different capacities, either a deputy or a police officer or a criminal investigator. My goal is to, like Wilkie said, get the morale up, keep the morale up where these officers won't want to leave and go somewhere else. We also need to get with the commissioners if they get their salaries up so they can have a livable life. Because, they don't need to be working part-time jobs, 3 or 4 part-time jobs. So if they do, they're going to be tired where they can't do their job working for the people. All I can say is on March 3rd, I ask for each and every one of y'all's vote for Dugan Broomfield for sheriff. Thank you.
All right. Hey, listen, I'm humbled being up here. I'm humbled that people reached out for my leadership skills. I'm big on leadership. I'm big on training. I'm big on respect. I'm big on service. I want to bring solid leadership. We've heard everything about holding people accountable. Absolutely, we have to hold people accountable. If we're firing a bunch of people, what we need to do is we need to look in the mirror and find out, is it us or is it them? Leadership, servant leadership, taking care of your people, treating them right, is the most important thing. I promise you that when I'm elected to Denton County Sheriff, it's not because I want a title, it's because I want to serve the employees and I want to serve the citizens of Denton County. Leadership is more than a badge and a cowboy hat.